Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is a response to worship the image of the beast. What does it mean? This is the video that Elder Pastor did earlier, either earlier or last night. I'm not sure when. Let's see, 10 hours ago. So last night. And I just wanted to do a response just based off of this whole image of the beast, because there's a controversy out there as to what it is, and it's not what these individuals out here teach. It's not a picture of Caesar Borgia. All right, so let me take a little sip of this tea. All right, so as we said before, in order to really understand the beast, you have to know what the scriptures say about the beast, and then to be able to identify it, identify what the beast is. And when we go to the book of Revelation 13 and 15, this is the main point. I mean, you can read up above and down below, but this is the main verse that goes into it. And it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. This is dealing with this revived beast. It was wounded and it came back to life. Right? And Lord's will, we can touch on that also. So it says, and he, meaning this revived beast, which is America, Babylon the Great, it said he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Now, when we look up this word power, right? In other verses, I've seen it before, you had the word dunamis, but in this particular word or this particular verse, the word is didomi, right? And I'm not going to click on it. I'm going to go here. I already clicked on it. And when you go up above this, the word is didimi or didomi, right? And it gives you different definitions. We're going to go to number 3, actually to number 2, D, 3, and then A. And then here it says for power, it says something to be administered. All right. Now, when we look up the word administer, it means manage and be responsible for the running of a business, organization, etc. All right. So this is a system that was set up, and America, through the Spirit of the Lord, through prophecy, has been given the power to administer or to manage and run this organization or this beast system. Now, when we go to the book of, real quick, what is that? Micah chapter 2. Me personally, I go over this verse here a lot because there's a lot to it. It's Micah 2:1. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds, right? Because they're constantly putting together the mindset of this so-called New World Order, which pretty much is a deprivation of people's rights. It's a deprivation of people's livelihood. It's a deprivation of people's freedoms. It's just a deprivation of everyone in general. And these devils, through their different councils, through their different mindsets, and goals and devices and plannings that they've done for a long time, have been putting this idea or pushing this idea forward, going back a long time. Because when they established the so-called Illuminati, which are the enlightened ones, that goes back to May 1st, 1776. That's been more than 200 some odd years ago. 1976 was 200 years. So from then to now, it's been over 200 years that they've been having this in play. But this is just the beginnings of it. The idea of a so-called New World Order is nothing new. It goes all the way back to the beginning of time, when man first came on the earth. The first time that it's recorded that man tried to come together, as a one world government was during the time of the Tower of Babel, and it was called the Tower of Babel after the people their languages were confounded, So the Lord said that, and they called it Babel because their languages were there confounded. So they had one mind, one language, one sentiment, one goal, and they were all working as one. But the Lord said nope, and he chopped that down and separated everybody, because that's not what the Lord wants. The Lord never wanted the whole world to come together as one, in no shape, form, or fashion. All right? Because this is why the Lord divided the nations. So it says, when the morning is light, they practice it, right? They put it into use. Why? Because it is in the power of their hand, right? Now, this word power obviously is a different word power than the word power in the book of Revelation 13, because this is the Hebrew, and Revelation is in Greek. So when we look up this word power, as we do from time to time, you have the word Allah, which means God, right? But it also means God, God-like one, mighty one. And this is why it's all small case, because you could have a so-called God on the earth, a person that's in a position or a godly state, or a position that they have authority over others, power over others, to tell them what to do and what not to do, have power over life and death, so on and so forth. God-like one, mighty one, all right? Mighty men, men of rank, mighty heroes, so on and so forth, right? So they have that God-like power to put these things into practice. And this is what their so-called New World Order. And what is the purpose for this whole so-called New World Order? And for them to establish this system in place and have everybody pretty much sea-hipped, total control. It says, and they covet fields, right? Because this is what it's all about. These devils covet, and they praise the covetous. There was a story, I'm not sure, I believe that was Eustace Mullins that said it. There was a particular president of the United States that was kicked out of the London Stock Exchange because he was a scumbag. He was just like extortionate. I mean, he was just doing all kind of wicked shit. And I believe they made him president of the so-called United States because they praise the covetous, because they are covetous themselves. It says, and they covet fields and take them by what? By violence. Because eventually, when you are in a position where you buy things, whether it's a car, a home, or whatever the case may be, if you can't pay, you have to give out collaterals, and those collaterals are taken from you. And if there's still something owed, they're taking that from you by violence. Because if you don't want to leave, guess what? They're going to run up in there and toss you out head first, or cart you into prison, depending on the severity. This is why they want the world in debt. Because they're not so much worried as collect, because they know they're not going to collect the debt. All nations of the planet are indebted to America. They know they're not going to collect that debt. They don't really even care, because what they want is the land, the people, and the resources. All right? Because that's where the power is. So they take them by violence in houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. And that's what it's all about. That's why in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, it says, in the 6th verse, I believe it is, straight to the point, it says, 5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. What is the wine he's transgressing by? This is democracy and the Americanization of the world. This is that cup that the harlot had in her hand, full of abominations, that she causes all the rulers of the earth and all the peoples of the earth to drink from. And this is exactly what they're pushing. And this makes these people drunk to the point when you're drunk, you're speaking without sense. You can't formulate a proper thought or a proper speech, and because you're under the influence of whatever you're under, whatever drug or liquor or whatever the case may be. So when these people get that Americanization steeping through their mind, the veins of their body, They pretty much speak in that same fashion to where no matter what you tell them, they can't be swayed. They're like drunkards on this American democracy and Americanization in general. It says he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, and they do not stay home. You see that they got military bases, about 800 military bases all around the world that are known, and then another maybe 200 or more that are not known, not so known, clandestine ones. It says, who enlarges his desire as hell. Right. And what is hell? The grave. The grave is what? Never full. In the book of Proverbs, it says that the grave is never full. So they enlarge their desire as hell because they can never have enough. Death in this world, death will always get the victory, and no matter how many people die, it still has room for more. And that's how Esau's rolling. He's rolling like a grave digger, pretty much, and is as death, right? And death happens to all, right? It says, and cannot be satisfied. He's unsatiable. He's not able to be satiated. He's not able to be satisfied. The more he gets, the more he wants. You would think that by now, being worth 550, by now it's got to be 7 trillion or more for the Rothschild families. This ain't talking about the other international banking families. So you would think that by now, having pretty much the majority of the world's resources, the majority of the world's wealth, they don't have a want for anything. The scriptures say they have more than heart could wish. You would think that they would just go somewhere and just chill and just leave everybody else be. But no, they can't be satisfied. They can never have enough. But gathereth unto him what? All nations, new world order. This is what they're trying to establish now. Antiochus Epiphanes tried to establish it. What happened? That got thwarted. And many other times, other nations tried to do that, so that everyone can fall under the laws of their nation and come up under them. But it's not going to work. Everyone's going to come up under the order of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai wa Yasha Allah. All right? That's going to be the true order of the world, or the world order, is Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and Yasha Allah ruling, and all nations coming to it. All right? And heapeth unto him what? All people. This is why in the back of the dollar, was it in the back of the dollar bill, by the eagle's shield, I think it is, you have some Latin writing, e pluribus unum, which translates into out of many one. The water, brother. Matter of fact, let me read this one first here. Job 20:23, when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast a furious wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. Right, and we're in this eating season. Eating season. That's a title for someone who, if they would like to take it. I'm thinking about somebody in particular, but I ain't gonna say no names. Proverbs 27:20. It says, hell and destruction are never full. See? Hell and destruction are never full. And this is how Esau's appetite for everybody else's wealth is. He can never be full. So the eyes of man are never satisfied. And really, this dealing with Esau. Esau's eyes are never satisfied. So they're heaping unto themselves all people. So when we go to the book of Revelation 13, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. That word power is something to be administered, which is to manage, be responsible for the running of a business, organization, etc. So he's pretty much running the organization of the first beast before him. And this is the importance of being able to identify what was the first beast before him in order to be able to identify what this beast is now. When we jump down to B, it says to appoint to an office. All right. Now, before we go any further, let me move this back because now when you look at the world today, you look at the scriptures in Revelation, the book of Revelation, and you read about this particular city, this particular beast. We already know that the beast is dealing with the EU and NATO. The red dragon is dealing with the 7 major nations of Esau that were world empires and our world empires, and America coming out of those 7, which is, this particular beast that we're dealing with in the book of Revelation 13 from around the 11th verse on down. All right, which resurrected the wound of the beast before it that had that had the wound, as it were almost dead, but then came back to life. All right, and when you look at America, right, if the spirit is working with you, you will have to identify America as being Babylon the Great. All right, and when you look at America and the fashion of America, the way that America is, the way that America is established, right, you will have to ask yourself, what other empire or nation out there does America mimic when you look at it? Well, some say, well, it says it calls Babylon the Great, so it had to be Babylon, right? Okay, so the building structures of America, governmental buildings, are they fashioned as the ancient Babylonian Empire? No. Are they fashioned as the Medieval Persian Empire? No. Are they fashioned as the Assyrian Empire? No. What about the Egyptian Empire? No, even though this is modern day Egypt, but when you look at the whole setup of America, it's not fashioned the same way Egypt is fashioned. When you look at the Sumerians and the different other nations that ruled, that had their time on the earth to rule, and so on and so forth, no other nation comes to mind when you look at the building structure or the architecture of America's buildings, governmental buildings, but the Roman Empire. Then once you establish that, then you go into what? The whole system of laws that they have implemented, the so-called judiciary system that they have implemented. Now, does that go back to Hammurabi? Does that go back to the decrees of Pharaoh? Does that go back to the different kings of Assyria, or the different kings of ancient Babylon or Medieval Persian Empire? No. Once again, Roman Empire. In the book of Maccabees, it tells us how the Roman Empire was established upon a Senate and how they gave their government to one man. And America is fashioned in that same way. So when you start to look at that and you start to put it together, you have to say, well, America is fashioned like the ancient Roman Empire. Now, you have, if you type in right now on Google, you type in parallels between America and Rome, it's going to give you all the different parallels of America that mimic Rome, and even the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, and how America is following that same, to throw a fancy word out there, the same trajectory. So you would have to come to the conclusion that this is talking about America, because it said it had power. This is the administration or office, putting something into office. That's what the power is, an office, right? Then when we go to the word life, to give life, the word for life there is the word pneuma, which is air, breath, spirit, right? Now we come down here and it says, a spirit, an example, a simple essence, devoid of all or at least all grosser matter, and possessed of the power of knowing, desiring, deciding, and acting. So America is acting like the ancient Roman Empire. Then you jump down here to 4. I'm sorry, to what is it? 6? No. Yeah, this is 4, yeah. The disposition or influence which fills and governs the soul of anyone. So the disposition or the influence, this influence that America has established, that has given power to the life, to give life unto the image of the beast, is what's influencing the world, the soul of anyone. And that's why it says in Revelation 13 and Let's see. Just bear with me. We're going to jump around here a little bit. Right here, Revelation 13:3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. That was the Roman Empire, right? And his deadly wound was healed during the time of the Renaissance period, and eventually America came into power and mimicked or administered, or set up everything the same way as the ancient beast did, which is Rome. It says, and all the world wondered after the beast. So they came fawning, or they came after the ways of America. That's why it says here, the disposition or influence which fills and governs the soul of anyone. This is why you have Americanization that's taken hold of all of these different nations around the world. And nobody around the world is trying to be like the South Americans, for the most part, as a whole. No one around the world is trying to be like the so-called Africans in Africa, whether they're Jake or Ham or whatever. No one around the world is trying to be like Europeans, really, as a whole. No one around the world is trying to be like Russians, or Australians or Chinese or anything like that. Everyone around the world, though, has mimicked the American way, from the building of skyscrapers, which started in America in Chicago, to the fast food restaurants that are around the world. You could type in right now McDonald's. You have McDonald's all over the world. Even in China right now, you have a village where it has a hut, a McDonald's hut with Chinese writing on it. They probably eat Big Macs, right? Big Macs with chopsticks. I'm being a little facetious with it, but the world is influenced by America. So that's the influence. It says the efficient source of any power. So what does it mean by the efficient source of any power? Meaning, where do they get their power from? So when you look at America and you analyze the way that America is, it mimics the ancient Roman Empire. It mimics the ancient Roman Empire. Check that out. It says there's a McDonald's building in Dubai as well. Check that out. See? And Dubai is fairly new. So it mimics America. So that's where it mimics ancient Rome. That's where they get their power from. That's why it says here in the second verse, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, which is the beginning of the beast, which is the Greeks, or are the Greeks, and his feet like the feet of a bear, which is the Russians, which is not a part of the seven, but they are the ending of the beast that's going to bring destruction upon the beast. It says, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, because the mouth represents where they get the authority or their walking papers from, which is London. Now, why is that? Because you have something called London State, and you have the Rothschilds that own that area. All right? And they're the ones that's calling the shots behind the scenes. This is why Maya Angelou said, give me control of a nation's money and I care not who makes the laws. What money system is the world following? America. The FRNs. The dollar bill. That's why nations are now trying to get out of it, because they found out that they are in a quagmire. The nations have drunk, and therefore the nations are mad. It says, and his mouth is the mouth of a lion, and the dragon, which is what? The Roman Empire, gave him his power and his seat and great authority. All right, it goes into the spiritual demon Satan too, but it goes into the ancient Roman Empire. That's where they get their power from. And when we go to the 11th verse, it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. This is what we're dealing with here. This particular beast, which is America, which came out of those 7 heads, which is the 8th head, because there's 8 heads, even though it speaks about 7. But then it says that the head that came out, or something like that, is of the 7, meaning it's a part of all 7, because they're all a part of the same system. This is why the dragon is identified as being red, or being scarlet colored, a red horse, because Esau is red. The name Esau means wasted away is he. His name was changed to Edom, which the word Edom, or name Edom, going back to the Hebrew, Adawan means red. These are the red people. That's why the dragon is identified as being red. And it's talking about people, their armies. It's not talking about the other nations. It's not talking about, it's not talking about Satan and his army of rebellious angels. There's no such thing. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb. Right now, the two horns like a lamb represent their so-called bipartisan system, two-party, system, so-called Republicans and Democrats. Like a lamb, why? Because they speak like a lamb. A lamb is meek. They appear to be meek, but in their mind was what? War. Their mouth was smoother than butter, but war was in their heart. It says, and he spake as a dragon, and this is the key. The dragon, when you go back to the word dragon, goes to the word dracon, which is where you get draconian measures from, which is where you get the Athenian lawgiver Draco, which would impose the hardest penalties or harshest penalties even upon the most minuscule offenses. And this is what America is being established as. That's why the Lord said in Jeremiah, how is the hammer of the whole earth broken? Because they are hammering the world away with this democracy. There's even a meme that was done years ago where you have a plane, and then on top of the plane it says, come to democracy, and then on the bottom of the plane it says, or democracy will come to you. And under that plane there's missiles being dropped out of it. So in other words, you either comply or we're gonna roll on you. We're gonna rain on you, warriors. Inside joke. It says, and he, meaning what? This beast that came back up exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, which is what? The Roman Empire. When you look at America and you look at the way that America is established, you're not going to get Egypt. You're not going to get Babylon. You're not going to get Assyria. You're not going to get the Medo-Persian Empire. You're not going to get any other empire in your mind, that America is mimicking, but the ancient Roman Empire. And that is the power that they're exercising. Matter of fact, let's look up this word, exerciseth. Poieo. All right, and it says to make with the names of things made, to produce, to be the author of, see, the cause, to produce, bear, shoot, to perform, to make ready, and so at the same time to institute the celebration of the Passover. That's going into the Passover. All right, so they're exercising all the power of the first beast. And he exercises all the power, and that word power should be the same. Nope, it's a different word, see? It's a different word from the other word for power. The other word for power is didomi. I'm sorry, that's the, let me see, let me make sure. Yeah, didomi, that's power. But this one, in this one, the word for power is exousia. It says power of choice, liberty of doing as one pleases, leave or permission, physical and mental to ability or strength endued, which it either possesses or exercises. Right. The ability or strength with which one is endued, given that authority or power, which he either possesses or exercises. And that's what they're doing. They're exercising all of that because why? The prophecy of the Lord gave them the ability to exercise that authority of the ancient Roman Empire. To do what? To fulfill prophecy. Bottom line. Prophecy, prophecy, prophecy. And that's what it's all about. All right? So let's see what else we got. It says, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. All right. And that's how it was healed, through the Renaissance period. All right. And there's, the whole book of Revelation pretty much is the same prophecies, but just told in different symbolisms. You hear Elder Apostle from time to time say how High Priest Ariah, told him that the prophecies are the same thing, is just told in different ways. So now let's jump down to the 15th verse. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak. How is it speaking? Through their legislation as a dragon, speak as a dragon through their legislation. Their legislators, the senators. You heard Elder Pastor in the last video he did. He went into that. And he causes that as many as would not worship the image or bow down to the image, in other words, comply with the mandates, and you see what's going on right now. They're pushing this digital currency, and they're saying that they're also pushing legislation as to regulating hateful speech, what they call hateful speech. But what is the definition of hateful speech? Well, that all depends on the person that wrote the law into effect and the different provisions that they have. And when these devils write laws, they write laws very ambiguous, very vague. And they want it that way because they want it open to interpretation. So whenever they need a law, they can go into that law and add a subdivision to that law to make, more provisions according to the way the world is going and the things that are turning up. So these devils are very devious, very demonic. Okay? So when we go to Revelation 17 and 17, it says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? Because the apostle John was enamored. He was smitten by this harlot, America. And she must look really good. And that's what America at one time looked to the world as. Looked like a fine ass woman. I mean, just bad as hell. But she was no good. She's no good. She's no good. I will tell, that was an inside joke. I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and the woman is dealing with America, that harlot, and of the beast that carrieth her, which is the EU. All right. It goes into NATO, but in other verses. But this particular 10 horns, well, the beast is dealing with NATO and the EU, because when you read on, it says, which had 7 heads, which are the 7 major empires of Esau, and 10 horns. 10 horns goes into the EU. So the beast doubles down as NATO and the EU, which the EU members are also members with NATO, which are all so-called European red Edomites. It says, the Lord said he's going to deliver us. The angel of the Lord encampeth around them that fear him to deliver them. My servants shall eat, So all we doing is teaching the word and waiting for the Lord to deliver us. He's going to have that invisible force field, so to speak, that's going to keep the enemy away. It says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not. So this particular beast, which took on the fashion and the ways of the prior beast before it, which is the Roman Empire, it was in John's vision, but it wasn't in John's time. And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit is Europe. A pit is identified in the scriptures as land. The bottomless pit is Europe. And go into what? Perdition, meaning into destruction. And that's why America was set up, to push all of this legislation, to push all of these mandates, to become a world power, to be the world reserve currency of the world, to get all nations to drink of her wine and to follow her ways, so that the Lord can destroy her and show the world the penalty for being wicked. Salakia. It says, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder in amazement, just like John did. John was in amazement of this woman. So he shall wonder, and that's why the angel cursed him out. Why? Because he's a part of the elect. It says, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. Right. So anyone that is not a part of the elect is going to be taken by this system that's established under America, which is identified as a harlot, identified as Babylon the Great. All right. Identified as spiritually known as Egypt and Sodom. When they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is, right, which is dealing with America, when America would come into power. And that's what they did. Beginning with the Renaissance, they did that. But America cemented this whole thing. And everyone is swayed by America. America is following behind what? The ancient Roman ways. It says, and here's the mind which hath wisdom. Now, if you read Revelation 12, you have these wacky-tacky Christians that say that the dragon is talking about Satan and his angels fighting against Michael and his angels, and that Satan and his angels was cast out of heaven because Michael and the angels did it to him. They took him out because he was rebellious, this, that, and the other. And it identifies that dragon with the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. And then here in Revelation 17, it gives you the breakdown of what that 7 heads and 10 horns represents. It says the 7 heads are 7 mountains. Mountains represent governments. All right. And these governments are empires of Esau. From the Greeks all the way to the British. You have the Greeks, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and Britain. Those are the 7. Then later on, America came out of that, which is the 8th. It says, on which the woman sitteth, and America is sitting upon them, because America established all of that, what you see. She helped fund all of that. Because after World War II, after World War I and World War II, Europe was devastated. So, I forget the president. I'm not sure if it was Truman. He enacted something called the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan was established in the, I believe it was the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. And what it was a funding from America of $13.3 billion to European countries to help them to rebuild, pretty much. So, obviously, America pretty much owns them. So she's riding on top of them. All right. It says, and there are 7 kings. See? So it's not talking about Satan and his angels. But you've been bamboozled through Renaissance Christianity and the teachings of Esau. And you look at the so-called white man in such veneration, you know, as being God and so-called Jesus, that you can't see that. It says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is. So the 5 that were fallen was the Greeks, the French, the Spanish, Germania Major, and Germania Minor. All right? And 1 is, because at the time when the Apostle John wrote this, and these visions were given to him, the Roman Empire was still in power. Domitian was the last Edomite ruler of the Roman Empire. He was still alive at this time. This is around the time when he got put to death, or he died. I forget if he got put to death or just dropped dead. It says, and 1 is, so that's the what? The Roman Empire. And the other is not yet come. And the other that's not yet come is what? The British Empire. Because the British Empire has not yet come into play. Oh, here we go with the water, brother. It says on December 19, 1947, okay, it was 1947, President Harry Truman sent Congress a message that followed Marshall's idea to provide economic aid to Europe. Right, it was called the Marshall Plan. So it was 47. I thought it was in the 50s. Let's see. On April 3, 1948, President Truman signed the Economic Recovery Act of 1948. Keep in mind, 1948, something else should come to mind. It became known as the Marshall Plan, named for Secretary, it had to be Secretary Marshall. All right. Let me see. Of State George Marshall, who in 1947 proposed that the United States provided economic assistance to restore the economic infrastructure of post-war Europe. That's right. So it says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. That's the British Empire. And when he cometh, which is the British Empire, he must continue a short space. Because when they came into power, they took over the Dutch. I forgot what the Dutch money was called back then. I think the Dutch money was a world reserve currency. And then the British pound took over. And then in 1944, the Federal Reserve Note of America, the U.S. dollar, took over as the world power. That became the new world order, so to speak. You know, it was established upon the U.S. dollar. Now we're at the point where they're trying to get a global system, or they're in the not trying. They're in this. They're on the verge of putting this global system, or putting the final nails in the coffin of this global system of finance, which will be governed by the CHIP. This is why everything is being pushed digital. All nations of the planet. It's not a coincidence that all nations on the planet are going digital. It's not just America or China or, or Switzerland or what, it's everyone. Because Yahweh Shai said it was going to be a worldwide thing, and that he would protect those that suffer for his name and suffer for teaching his word. Because you have kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So that's world, oikumene, and earth, gay or gi, where you get the word geo, the whole entire planet. So this is what they're pushing. So the British Empire had to be moved out of the way. Now when we really read Revelation 17 and 10, in the NLT, I believe it is. Is it this one? Now, I don't know why I clicked on this. I wonder if it was supposed to be another verse. Yeah, it was something else that I had clicked on. I don't think it was this. I think this is the wrong verse. Anyway, it says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, which is America. So it was why? Because it was in his vision, in Apostle John's vision, but it wasn't at that time yet. That was a future, that was going to come in the future. Even he is the 8th and is of the 7th and goeth into perdition, or into destruction. All right. And it goes on to continue to explain the rest. But I want to get something because, was it this one? There was a, damn. I'm almost positive it was Revelation 17. And there was one. There was something I was looking at earlier. Oh, well, I guess I can't remember right now. Lord's will, it'll come back, another time. The Spirit allows. Just bear with me 1 second. Nah, that's not it. All right, so pretty much that, that's pretty much it. So this is just a response to Elder Pastor's video, to worship the image of the beast. What does it mean? That's dealing with the whole Roman system and the way that it was established. And now we're at the point where financially the money system is being brought online, so the CHIP is a part of that. That's why when you read the 16th verse down, it speaks about the charagma, being the CHIP, and the whole system of how it's being established. And that's what's going to bring about the next New World Order. And even in this World Economic Forum, they're speaking about, the digital currency. The one individual said, "I seen it, and it's this small." And he made the sign with his hand. It was about the size of a micro C hip, So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.